Welcome back to Inside the World of Box Lacrosse on Blue Squatch Productions and Inside Lacrosse. Stephen Stamp, Adam Levy, Greg Beecher, all here. And it is 1/3 of the way through the season. 7 games, 7 weeks of the 21-week season. Not a third of the games, but a third of the calendar time. And we are going to talk awards. So let's talk about, oh my goodness, that's a nice goal. We're going to talk about that. That's why I wanted it. Look at this thing. And it involves some of the people we're going to talk about as MVP contenders. I'm going to start by saying you've got to have Josh Byrne and Dane Smith in there. Again, it's not exciting. It's a little dull to keep going the same patch, but they're just so darn good. And look at this play. Kyle Buchanan, who I feel like was a trendsetter with the opposite side scoring. He'll go backdoor cuts and score on the opposite side, which people are getting into now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can't ever go wrong, at least in the last couple of years, having Byrne and Smith in that MVP talk. I think that their supporting cast, though, has definitely stepped up this year, and that's why the Bandits look so good. Kyle Buchanan, you just mentioned him, has been much improved, I think, this year. He's looked amazing, and he was great last year, so that's been good to see. For me, I'm going to shake things up a little bit, Stamper, and go with Mitch Jones as my MVP winner. And I know that he and Reza Territz, they're not necessarily, although they're pretty close to Josh Byrne and Dane Smith statistically so far this season. The reason I'm going to go with them is because you look at the defense and transition and goaltending of the Buffalo Bandits. You know, they've been up there, so the team is looking especially good because that back end. And not that Philly hasn't been that way, but when you look at their goals against per game, they are 8th in the league in goals against. So that means that the offense has needed to be as good as it has been to be as successful as they have been, making them, to me, more valuable than Byrne and Smith. So I'm going to go with Mitch Jones on this one. You could have thrown in Reza Territz there as well. That Wings offense looks special.
I like Mitch Jones a lot for this. I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I've seen Mitch Jones play a ton, but when I saw him at the tryout camp for Canada's team for the World Championships in July, I guess it was the Canada Day weekend, maybe in St. Catharines, I remember watching him and being down very close to the rink, like right by the boards, and thinking he is bigger than I remembered. Like he just looks so big and strong, and he's so fast for his size. Like he was playing kind of a bang him up role, because I think he saw, I mean, everyone saw Josh Byrne and Jeff Teat are going to be on that team, and they're going to be the guys carrying the ball, and they're going to be the core. He was almost like saying, I'll do whatever you need. Now, there's Tanner Cook and Shane Jackson. It's just a ridiculously deep pool, so Jones didn't quite make it. He would have fit in beautifully on that team. I think he is just burgeoning. He was great when he started. Of course, he was a transition player at the start. I think Jones is a terrific pick as well, and maybe the guy I'm settling on. So I think I will go Jones for now.
Yeah.
At this point.
And I know that we're trying to keep things condensed, but, you look at Jones and how he came into Philadelphia. Paul Day, in my opinion, does not get the credit he deserves as a general manager. The moves that he has made, you think about Brendan O'Neill, obviously you've got a big switch up. It takes a lot of cojones, as they say, to trade Zach Higgins and get a Nick DeMude, who seems to be fitting in really well. He's made some really smart decisions in the GM position, and I think that Mitch Jones is paying off more than they could have ever imagined.
Yeah, I think also having Deacon Knott there as a second goalie, I think he's a terrific young goalie, and that's an interesting option, and they've kept him around. We're going to move on to Defender of the Year. Boy, I'm still a big Matt Hossack guy. I think he's having a fantastic year. I think Robert Hope has been mostly terrific. I feel like someone from San Diego should be in the conversation because their defense has played so well. But who is it? It's such a team defense that Patrick Merrill and
Cam Woods.
Yes, Cam Woods. Great job he's doing. Thank you. I can't believe I flashed on him. But is it Kyle Rubish? He's playing close to his career standard, or is it Eli Gobrecht? Who I think is one of the overlooked guys, but I don't know. I'm going to go with Hossack for the time being, but this to me is a really hard one.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, shout out to Eli Gobrick missing half of last season with a broken hand, and to come back the way he did in the second half, and now this season has been really excellent. But I think you're right, Hostic, one of the top defenses around in the National Lacrosse League with the Rush. He and Holden Garland have been phenomenal in front of Frank Giuliano, a really formidable duo there. So I think Hostic is definitely a fair pick. With Robert Hope, it's interesting, and we've had this discussion numerous times, both on this show and elsewhere, about looking at the statistics and is he getting more inflated numbers than others, but his block shots and caused turnovers have been through the roof this year. He is playing phenomenal defense as well.
And I won't count block shots in my considerations because I just think they're dangerous. And we've had that talk before. I just don't like guys intentionally soaking shots because I don't think you've got the gear for it, and it scares me.
Well, I hope that Ian Lord doesn't hear that, because he's sacrificed his body a ton this season.
He's a beauty. Oh my gosh, Ian Lord, he is so good. But guys, Paul Dawson, obviously, they'll just go in and take him. That's a whole nother thing. We're going to move on to transition player of the year, and this is one I think it's so hard. Like, is Ian McKay a transition player? He's been playing a lot of forward because he's been fantastic. Like,
so he's listed as a transition player.
If you're on the power play, though, because I was watching the game, he's on the power play. How do you put a transition player out on the power play? It was my main question. I did grab a few of his goals. I'll pull them back up here. But yeah, no, I don't understand from a outsider's perspective how you could be on the power play and still consider it a transition player, because it's not like he's sitting up top on a 5-on-3. I mean, he's in there on the 5-on-4. He's on the point.
Yeah. Well, because he's still playing some defensive shifts and he's still playing defense well, and he's still kind of doing everything. I tend to not think he should be in the transition category, but maybe he should. Maybe that's it. And Zach Currier, is he a transition player? He's been playing a lot of offense. He also has 12 caused turnovers, second most in the league. Like, he still does it. Like, it's incredible. His career in that conversation.
Well, I think that this was a really interesting point that Joey Capito had made when I had him on the Lacrosse Matrix podcast, was that he thinks that it's kind of silly to even have a transition player, because it's really just two-way guys, like we're talking about, guys that can do a little bit offensively and defensively. I think that in terms of the awards, when you're listed as a transition player, I'm sure that those are the guys that are going to be within that category. So putting that into perspective, Currier obviously has been fantastic, but Ian McKay leading the Buffalo Bandits in scoring and doing so much more for that team, obviously having an emotional and sad loss in the family recently. The team has rallied behind him. It seems like everything is kind of happening for Ian McKay right now, and Buffalo and the team is supporting him, and he's stepping up more than he ever has on all areas of the floor. And that's saying a lot for a guy who has done so much for that team.
So let's say no McKay, no Currier. Let's say they're not transition guys. Okay.
All right.
They exercise. Then who is it? I think Matt Gilray is still right there.
Yes.
I think, Gilray's been fantastic again. I think Nick Weiss is a guy that gets overlooked some. He's so good.
Well, how have we not mentioned Owen Grant?
Well, he was next.
Okay.
I was kind of working my way geographically from the guy from the east across. But yeah, Owen Grant, I was going to say the rookie, the sophomore, but he's been fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of guys that could be considered in here. Jake Boudreau also is really good. So anyone else you want to throw in?
No, Grant probably would have been, if we're not including McKay and Currier, Grant would be my guy. The way that he's injected, really kind of helped to reshape the way that teams play against Vancouver, has been incredibly pivotal for that team.
Okay, I'm going to go with Gilray for now, but I McKay, Currier obviously have to be considered. Grant, great one. Let's move on to goalies. And I think this is a hard one because it hasn't really been a year of the goalie. Mm-hmm. I don't know that anyone's really having a fantastic goal year. Everyone's been kind of up and down. There's some guys doing really well. I mean, Riley Hutchcraft, you could consider. You could think of lots of guys. Matt Vince statistically is way ahead of everyone, but he's kind of playing with three goalies the way Buffalo plays defense.
Yeah.
So, it's and there's a little voter fatigue, I think, for Matt Vince. He just wins all the time.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. He's a remarkable athlete, a remarkable player, a remarkable teammate. Maybe Vince has to be the guy. I am going to land, though, on Zach Higgins because he has made such a difference for Ottawa because he's been great. I mean, even in the games they've lost, he's been unbelievable. But the win against Georgia, he kept them in games. The game against San Diego, it was 6-5. It could have been 15-5, right? But he was amazing. I'm going Zach Higgins.
Zach has been absolutely phenomenal. I totally agree. The amount of saves that he makes, the amount of acrobatic saves that he makes, shots in transition on those 1-on-1s has been phenomenal. I'm not going to go with either Vince or Higgins, though. I'm going to go with the guys who I think would be the other two to be considered. I'd say Aiden Walsh or Frank Scigliano have definitely been elite. And I always talk about it, and I'm always consistent. I love a good story. And Aiden Walsh, a young kid who is in one of the most unusual and probably uncomfortable situations with the goalie situation going on and what happens with Christian Del Bianco. But he is playing lights out. He's improved. He really is owning that number one spot. Vancouver with the second best goals against average in the National Lacrosse League right now. He's having some really impressive games. He's been pretty consistent, which is good. You never want to see huge quarters against yourself, which he's avoided a lot of those. So I'm going to go with the young guy, and I think that it's just a continued example of the movement that's going on in Vancouver.
I'm not sure if I'm ready to go with Walsh after 4 games. But yeah, the Del Bianco shadow looming is huge, especially when he is playing right down the road in Langley for the Blackfish. I think it is he's playing
for the Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies in the Arena Lacrosse League. And, I think Walsh, great job for a young goalie it's hard enough being a young goalie, but putting the distractions aside, is very impressive, and he's been solid. So
and also we can isolate this and we can send it out so the world gets really angry at me. But is Christian Del Bianco washed up? He gave up 11 goals in his last Arena Lacrosse League game and lost that game for the Grizzlies.
They've lost a lot of games.
But he did make 55 saves in that one. He was excellent. And of course, I am kidding. Christian is a phenomenal goaltender, but it does complicate things in terms of, we talked about at the beginning of the year, the pieces that you trade. Vancouver's playing well. Calgary's doing better than expected, I think. And, even Cam McLeod has done better than I thought he would. Aiden Walsh, of course. So the development and evolving situation of that trade is so interesting.
Yeah. We have one more category, Rookie of the Year. We've talked about it fairly recently, so I don't think it'll take too long. But I will say Brennan O'Neill is still my guy. I mean, he's done so much, come on so much quicker than we thought he would in terms of how fast he had an impact. And we saw the adjustments as he looked like a bit of a field guy early. He looks like a box player more and more. He's been great, but I'm still huge on Will Johansson. I think he's unbelievable. And to me, Adam Poitras is climbing into this list. He, the defensive game, the cause turnovers, the forecheck, and the scoring, the hat trick, the overtime winner, the overtime winner. Like, boy, he has really been dynamite.
Yeah, he is on pace for 27 caused turnovers and 24 goals, I believe, and he'd only be the second player in NLL history to have 20 plus goals and 25 plus caused turnovers in Jordan McIntosh, actually.
Ooh, intriguing, of course.
Yeah, so very, very interesting to see that, and he's obviously been great. I think Brennan O'Neill, though, is the guy. The way that he's playing box too, he plays with this fearless nature. I think on the wings, maybe other than Mitch Jones, or Sam Leclerc, Brennan O'Neill has been in the dirty areas, the way that he's left the floor on diving shot opportunities. He's given up his body. I mean, he's a big boy and I'm sure he can take it, but that's the kind of old school box lacrosse that you love to see. And he's really embracing it. But I just also want to say that Dyson Williams, I know the team's not doing great and he's having a very, for his standard, a quiet rookie season, but a quiet 8 goals and 10 assists, which is second best among rookies. So even though he's not playing up to Dyson Williams standards, he's, playing well. And I think that he's actually, finding his way. I think he's got 7 goals in his last 3 games. So
he's not out of it for the season, but for the 1/3 of the season, I don't think he's
yeah.
right. Right.
Brendan O'Neill's pulling away with it. But yes, Will Johansson has been great. Unfortunately, the record for Albany doesn't help his case.
No, it does not. We are going to wrap up this section, but we have a bonus segment coming very quick. We will look at whip or flip. What is it? What was it? And what the gash? We're going to take a peek at that as well. For Greg Beecher and Adam Levy, I'm Stephen Stamp for ITWOBL here on Blue Squatch and Inside the Cross. We're going to take a quick break and we will be back with our final segment.
Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate all the support. If you'd like to be able to comment and talk with Stephen Stamp and Adam Levy during these live shows, join the Blue Squatch Productions membership on YouTube. This allows you the opportunity to comment during the live shows and access to our Discord where you can ask questions ahead of time and get real-time responses. Thanks so much, everybody.